call to order the May 15th meeting of the supervisors of West Rockville Township. Will you all join me in the pledge of flag?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any public comments on the agenda items that we have listed? Okay, we're going to have, we don't have any confirmed appointments tonight, but if anybody has any questions or wants to comment or read a statement or whatever, we're going to use the podium to better control the sound and everything so everybody can hear everything. So we're going to ask you to come to the podium, wait for your position, and we'll continue to use that going forward to hopefully better organize the communications that's going on. Okay, announcements. We had executive session tonight, this evening about some real estate. We had an executive session on May 6th about legal issues. And at this point, we're going to announce the cleanup day winners and the fishing derby winners. So hopefully everybody comes to win and get the prize.
Want to read off the checks? Here are the checks.
Cleanup day first.
Okay. You going to clean up? Come forward. Betsy Davis. Betsy Davis here.
If you want to get in the middle there, so I can get a picture. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Next is Madison Buckman. Hi, Madison. Stay here and have your picture taken. Congratulations.
There you go.
Next is Olivia Buckman. How are you girls cleaning up?
You got two. There's one more. You gave it two. There's one more. There's one more.
Kelly Fox. It's Kelly.
Kelly here. Okay, so Olivia gets it. Yep.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the fishing derby. Okay.
Did you girls with the fishing derby too?
I want to thank everybody that showed up for the fishing derby. We had a rainy, soggy day, but we had a great turnout. I think there were 73 kids that still registered in that rainstorm. And 3 winners that we had with the largest fish. Grant Monero had an 18-inch. Is he here? You got the big fish. Turn around here so the man can take our picture, okay?
One more. Thank you.
Hey, look here now. Look here.
Okay, next is Jackson Detweiler. Jackson. Who happens to be my grandson. Here you go. Hold on to that, okay? See this man here? He's going to take your picture.
Okay, next.
Thank you. All right, congratulations. That was 17 and 7/8 for Jackson's fish.
Wow.
And third place went to Madison Oberling, 17-inch drum.
Thank you.
Nope, one more. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
All right, spend it wisely. Thanks. Thanks for all the participation. I would also like to thank the businesses in the community for donating the funds that allowed us to purchase the trout to put in for these kids. I really appreciate it. We had over $3,200 worth of trout put in. So, thank
Great day, even boys ran.
you. Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is consent agenda, and it's presented to you, gentlemen. Do you have anything of concern you want to discuss included in that? If not, I accept the proposal for approval of the consent agenda that's presented.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I agree with it as well, and I will second the motion.
Okay, moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Confirm reports, we have none tonight. Committee reports, planning commission. Mr. Thurston.
Good evening.
Break this thing in.
All right, Planning Commission met last night. We had 5 applicants. First one was Select Properties with the Young Tract out on Mountain View Road. It's a 13.37 acre plot with an existing home. It's in the VR district. They're proposing a 2-lot subdivision, lot 1 having an existing dwelling with just over 7 acres. Lot 2 being a vacant lot at 6.29 acres. Now, Select Properties is unsure of what they want to do with this if they follow through. It's either going to be joined up with other properties to do some type of a village development or single-use home. Due to this, they're indecision on what they want to do with it. They want to defer some of the SALDR requirements, mostly road improvement items, until they come in with a development plan. They would also like to move forward without identifying sewage facilities on the plan, which creates a conflict with council policy. And I'll let Steve elaborate on that here in a second. So PC was uncomfortable with moving forward without getting clarification, mostly between the engineer and the solicitor. So we voted to table that until we get some more intelligence on that. And Steve, if you just want to give a briefing on what that.
Well, the sewage issue is basically comes down to we can't create a new lot without verifying that there's adequate sewage facilities on it, whether it's public sewer or soil testing done for septic system. Our ordinance requires it, and DEP requires it of us through our Act 537 plan. There is some exceptions to that. There's some waivers that you can get, but it's a specific process you have to follow through DEP. And they're actually, the applicant is asking to not do any process, just to put everything in abeyance until some future did. And that's where the Planning Commission was uncomfortable with that concept.
Okay.
So that was that. We're going to wait for some things to get hashed out and we'll come back.
Okay.
And Steve started the process today already. He talked to me. We went through ordinances together.
All right. So something will get cleared up with them.
Well, yeah, I think
We're clear.
we're of the same mind.
See how that translates to them. All right, so that was that for Select Properties. Next applicant was Teresco. Teresco has the granite shop out on Old 309. And they're looking, they were in December, so we've gone through this before. They're looking to build a 2,200 square foot addition to the rear of their existing building. It's in the PC2 district. The addition would cover part of an existing impervious area that they use for housing their, basically their slabs of granite. So everything's housed outside right now. They want to build this addition just to house all that stuff. The rest of this impervious area that they're not covering is going to be used for parking. Parking was one of the little issues. To meet the requirements, they need 34 spaces. So what they've come up with was to put 15 spaces, what they're going to call a compact stall, which is smaller than what our requirements would call for. Basically, it's for compact parking. We did agree to waive the restriction on the number of compact stalls. They still need to have these 34 spaces. That's an ordinance, a zoning ordinance issue, so we couldn't do anything with that. But that's a SAUDO issue with the size of the parking areas, parking spots. So due to the fact that they're not going to ever need the amount of parking spaces that they are required, we decided to allow that number of compact stall parking spots. They don't want or really need to do street improvements, curb and sidewalk. They have that whole thing is just paved, their whole parking lot is paved, but they did curb and sidewalk. They really cut back on their, limit their parking. But what they want to do is some type of drainage improvement in the parking area along the street, and possibly use that as in lieu of fee, in lieu of for the waiver of the street improvements. So that's something you guys get to work out. Planning Commission is recommending a conditional preliminary final on that. So that was it with that project. The next project was Fresco. You might remember they were in a couple months ago looking for a lot line adjustment. They're trying to pick up a couple of acres, actually 1.5 acres, from what used to be the Rockville Mennonite Church. It's now Ridgeline Community Church. They basically worked things out. It's in PI district. There was really nothing, no sticklers or anything. There's a couple little things. So PC is recommending conditional preliminary final on that as well. Do you have any questions on anything? I'm just kind of rifling through.
Nope.
We had 5, so I'm going to keep rolling. All right, so the next one was Magnetic Specialties. They are a business on Keystone Drive. They're looking to build a 900 square foot addition onto a 14,390 square foot existing building. I don't know if you're familiar with where they are. The Keystone actually just past what's that? That long place there. So if you go past Thursday Mill Hafen Project on Keystone, or like 2 buildings up there, they do windings of motors and some other that type of work there. They need more space. It's 2.08 acre parcel in PI. One of their issues, they're required to have 53 parking spaces, which is, again, far more than they're ever going to need. So they're proposing 26 spaces on the plan, with the remainder unbuilt in a reserve area, which we've done plenty of times in the past. If they ever need it, they have to build it out. The site frontage improvements, we're waiving that. I guess it'll be a fee in lieu situation. A couple other little things, the afforestation that's required. They really have no place on that lot to do any planting, so we were willing to waive that. And that was basically, that was it for that project. Again, PC is recommending conditional preliminary final. Any questions on that one? All right, so the last one was Dominus. Dominus is proposing to construct a 4,600 square foot commercial building for a motorcycle air filler business. We're going to do retail and wholesale out of the building. The property is on the corner of Bethlehem Pike, which is Old 309, and Anna Lane. Anna Lane is the Raider subdivision. It would be lot 3 on that subdivision. Lot is 8.98 acres. It's in PC2. They have a few little items again just to clean up, and PC was on board, and we're recommending conditional preliminary final on that as well. And that's all we have.
Okay.
Any questions?
I have one question. I failed to ask you, the young tract,
Yes.
is that below the previously planned village plan?
That's in the VR.
It's in the VR?
Yes.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yep. Anything else?
No, there is. Jim, you have any-
No, I'm fine, I was in a meeting.
Okay, motion is
I'll second the motion.
moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, next, Park and Rec. Here you, Dave.
I'll be able to stand still.
There's,
Huh?
didn't say it was cold.
Oh, no, not cold. No, I said the podium, I said I'm gonna be able to stand still. It keeps everything still. In the month of May, it's kind of busy. We streamlined the meetings so we could have, because there was a couple members that weren't able to make it there, so we tried to cut back on some of the conversations that would include several of the members that would have valuable input. So we did have good conversations as far as recap on Fishing Derby, how much of a success it was continually for the 9th year. Reminder about the movie night in August 24th. Possible collaboration ideas that we're having for movie night. That's April 24th at 7:30 p.m. We put conversation about the memorial plaque on hold because Maggie wasn't there, but we had some continued conversation because Bonnie was able to, she was bringing some, I should say, fellow veterans into the mix with her conversations at some of the retirement communities, Telford, Rock Hill, and Meadows. So I appreciate that, thank you. And we're trying to finalize the top lot equipment so we can get that installed for September Fest, which is coming up, which we're gonna have lots of conversations in the next month or two about that. So that's coming up on the last Sunday in September, so be there, it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be the 25th year celebration, so we're gonna have a big celebration about it. Cool.
Yeah, I have, last Thursday, Dave, as everyone knows, on the second, fourth Thursday of every month, we have Get Fit with a Dog. Thursday afternoon, we noticed that the high school was mowing our park, trying to figure out why the high school was mowing our park. And then later that evening, we found out that the entire place was filled with high school. And we had no idea that the high school was coming in.
Okay.
I tried to do everything I could to make accommodations for Get Fit with a Dog, and they moved down to the smaller pavilion. And it was a very, very big inconvenience as far as I'm concerned. We had doctors, we had therapists, nurses, people that needed, some conversation with doctors. Anyway, I'm not sure how that all came about, but what my concern is, the high school has never been given permission to use our fields, and we don't have an insurance rider for the high school.
We do.
We
Yeah.
got one the other day.
I'm pretty sure in the 18 years I've been involved in the Little League that we've had multiple games there, multiple practices there. I could probably go back and find emails if I needed to, because I know they've been there before. I know other leagues have been there to practice as well. So on a Saturday, any given Saturday, you can see the parking lot's full because we have back-to-back 4 games. So parking lot's full.
I'm not concerned about the little.
Yeah, and I know that it was an inconvenience for the
games
back.
and
It
the
was-
parking lot being filled.
to
That's
get it
just,
to the
we're not aware of it, and people have actually reserved the park.
Yeah,
It's just a communication issue
Yeah.
as well as,
it was a mix-up. I apologize for it. It wasn't intentional by any means. It was a night for the kids, the senior night for the high school team, so it was a JV and varsity game. They were there actually since 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I didn't know they were going to cut the grass. I thought it was our guy. When Suzanne texted me, I thought it was our guy that was cutting the grass, because they generally do that once a week, twice a week, depending on the grass and the weather. So I assumed it was our guy.
Do you have a schedule for the use of?
Yeah, we had a
We
scheduled
have a
game.
schedule
We
for
actually had a
the-
scheduled game that night, Don. So there was a scheduled game on.
It just wasn't the high school.
It just wasn't the high school team. And again, that was a last minute switch. So the high school team usually plays on 2nd Street. So we swapped fields with them so they could have a bigger venue because they could have you know.
And I think part of the issue was the conflict of using the pavilion.
Yeah, and that's,
Pavilion.
you know, that didn't even cross my mind. I'm thinking of baseball side, because I'm a baseball guy, so.
Suggestion, we gotta communicate, and maybe you keep a record of who's
I just
operating.
after it happened, I asked for an insurance rider, Dave, and the schedule. If
Yeah.
something's gonna happen, let me know, and you
Yeah.
can't conflict with other.
Good.
I was never at the get fit with the doc, so you know what, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was never on your mind, probably.
That
And I
probably
know
wasn't.
when Jim reached out to me and explained the situation to me, I said that yes, there should be better communication.
Yeah.
But I will say this, from being involved in the Little League myself for 7 years, there's a lot of rain games, and sometimes you gotta have makeup games. And, you know, that falls into the play sometimes.
That's
where-
facts, yeah.
Where you have to play a game where you really didn't have it scheduled.
Just like I'm
Because you
playing
gotta try
Friday
and
night.
fit it in, because if you don't get your games done by a certain time,
Yep,
you know, the season, the playoffs start, and
Yep.
then
the next,
you know,
the next, the next.
regionals and counties and all that stuff,
Yep.
so I think we should try to communicate.
Oh,
And let's try and look at, maybe in the Park and Rec meetings, let's look at what's on the agenda for as far as what's reserved. Jim identified tonight the nights when
Yeah.
the get the dock are.
And there's other things too, that, you know, people reserve parks on a Saturday or something for a big event, and you find out there's games that were there, so.
Well, Greg has his schedule, right?
Yeah.
For the calendar, Dave has access to the
Yeah.
calendar.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
It's just more of the pavilion.
Yeah, it was you know, it didn't even cross my mind, because basically they were there set up, it's right next to the field, that's why. Didn't even think about the doctors. I'm only 50, and that's not a hit on anybody, but
No.
I just wasn't there. I'm running around doing other stuff, so. Is that good?
I have a
Yeah.
couple things. I want to thank all of the Park and Rec volunteers, members, everybody that contributed to this fishing derby and came out in that terrible rain to make it a good day for the kids. We really appreciate
It
the
was
effort,
huge.
the volunteer effort that's been put in. And I failed to mention in the beginning when we handed out the money, I should have mentioned it then. I want to thank my two fellow supervisors and myself for making that $50 each to those kids available for the
That's
for the
awesome.
winners. So thank you, fellas.
Our pleasure.
And that's,
Yep.
carries on. Thank you very
And
much.
actually, the Little Free Library is now official and dedicated, so it is in the books.
Great.
Thank you, David. Entertain a motion for approval of Dave's report.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Moving second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let's have it. Okay, commission reports, please. Report. Good evening.
Evening. The following information, list of monthly activities for the Pennridge Regional Police Department for the month of April 2019. Pennridge Regional Police Department responded to 530 calls for service. Of those calls, 273 were in East Rock Hill Township and 257 were in West Rock Hill Township. The department handled 24 traffic crashes. There were 10 crashes in East Rock Hill and 14 in West Rock Hill. 13 were reportable accidents and 11 were non-reportable crashes. Criminal activity. Pennridge Regional Police responded to 6 Part 1 crimes and 42 Part 2 crimes in April, totaling 48 crimes. Part 1 crimes are also known as index crimes or violent crimes. These crimes include homicide, sexual assault, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, theft, auto theft, and arson. The West Rock Hill reported crimes, 2 theft cases, 1 sex offense against a minor, 3 DUIs, an arson case, assault case, possession of heroin, there are 2 cases of that, a fraud, narcotic sale, criminal mischief, 3 disorderly conduct cases, 1 trespass, 1 public drunk, 1 ordinance violation, and 2 cases of dog law violations. East Rock Hill reported crimes, there were 2 DUIs, 1 authorized use of auto, a theft, 3 cases of fraud, a criminal mischief, 3 cases of possession of marijuana, 1 public drunkenness, 3 trespass complaints, 7 harassment cases, 3 ordinance violations, and 2 cases of dog law violations. Criminal charges filed for April 2019. 1 arson case, 1 endangering the welfare of children, 1 possession instrument of crime, 1 flight to avoid apprehension, 1 possession of heroin, 1 possession of marijuana, or correction, 1 possession of heroin, 4 possessions of marijuana, 6 possessions of drug paraphernalia, 2 possessions of methamphetamine, 1 hit and run, 2 public drunkenness, 6 DUIs, 2 underage drinking, 2 disorderly conducts, 2 receiving stolen property, 1 criminal trespass, 1 access device fraud, and 1 criminal mischief. Under other police activities, officers conducted 215 traffic enforcement details and 37 traffic details on Old Bethlehem Pike. Officers issued 19 verbal warnings, 50 citations, 48 written warnings. Officers also conducted 282 business checks. Last month, we did the drug take-back. On a Saturday, we have 2 locations, one at our police station and one at the Grandview Hospital outpatient. For Grandview, or for our headquarters, the people that dropped it off that day, it was 31.41 pounds. At Grandview Hospital, it was 37.07 pounds. And then the drug take-back box that we have, the permanent box, for the total from the previous drug take-back until the most recent was 139.04 pounds. And that's a
Wonderful.
wide range of prescription drugs, over-the-counter drugs, you name it. The only thing we don't take are needles. In Bucks County, the totals for the drop box and take-back event, so the drop box for the 3 months, I believe it is, and the take-back day was 10,086 pounds of drugs.
We're making some progress.
What's that?
I say we're making some progress.
Yes, yes, and, you know, all that stuff would have been in landfills, it would have ended up somewhere, you know, that would have been harmful to the environment, so it's a good thing.
Good. Okay. You don't have any questions?
No, I'll make a motion, we accept Detective Lewis's report as presented.
I'll second.
Move the second, all in favor?
All right, thanks, Darrell. Have a good night.
Good job.
Police Memorial Day.
Next on the agenda, we have tax collector's report.
Okay, mine's really quick for the month of May. Annual tax is $17,069.10.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry, Suzanne. He skipped over the joint.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. If you
Oh,
want to finish.
I can finish, I'll be done in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
All right, because you're
We'll
involved
skip
in this
over.
too.
I know.
Joint Rec Authority has been working for the last couple of months getting Holiday House pool ready. Suzanne and I have been painting and painting and painting. We had 4 people painting today, and we got the baby pools all done, almost. And by Saturday, we hope to have the entire pool painted, so that on Monday we can put water in. So we're making good progress there, as long as it doesn't rain more. This was really, really thick, good paint, so we're hoping this lasts.
We're gonna put an umbrella over it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We also, the Joint Rec Authority also decided that we should bring on a creative media group. Chroma Creative Media was brought on to start looking at the way we're advertising ourselves and see if there's a way we could change it up a little bit, see if we can get more membership. So I don't know if anybody gets the Bucks County Herald, but there's been press releases in there. There's an advertisement going in for the pool next week. So we're already seeing a lot of activity out there. We'll measure that against any new memberships we get to see if we determined that if we get 3 new memberships, we pay for it. So you know it's really going to work out good. Our snack bar person is just about ready. She's she's gonna buy a microwave this week, and then she'll be ready to go, so. So we're moving along, we'll be ready to open on Memorial Day weekend.
Very good.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept Jim's report as presented.
Okay, motion made, I'll second. All in favor? Aye, ayes have it. Suzanne.
Okay, annual tax is $17,069.10. 2019 interim, $28.36. And our street light tax, $194.22. That's it.
Very good. Thanks.
You have any questions?
I have none. I would make a motion to accept Suzanne's report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Questions, disagree with the money from you? Okay, engineer's report. Mr. President.
Okay, thank you.
Money disappeared and the questions came back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The item I have is the road paving bids. Recall last month you authorized go out for bid for paving projects. We actually split the projects into 3 contracts because of the work we were having done. Contract 1 is the oil and chip work, like the seal coat. Contract 2 is the super pave overlay paving on the township roads. And contract 3 was for the parking lot repair, and then we added one potential alternate to contract 3 that I'll explain in a minute. We had an opening today, this afternoon, handing out the summary results, but I can give them to you. So for contract 1, the seal coat, we had 2 bids, Asphalt Industries and Asphalt Maintenance Solutions. And as is usually the case, Asphalt Maintenance Solutions is the low bidder in the amount of $65,486.40. That was more or less in line with our estimates for that one. Can we go over all 3 for you?
Yeah, please.
Okay, the second contract for the overlay paving, I believe it was 3 roads. It was the lower part of Lonely Road, Halfwood Road, and Gangland Road. The low bidder in that case was Gorcon Inc. in the amount of $111,594.50. We had 5 bidders. Gorcon was the low bidder. Again, that was relatively in line with our estimates. And then the third contract was the base bid was for the parking lot repairs. That included some milling of the parking lot plus overlay paving. The base bid was in the amount of $30,090 for Bray Brothers Inc. Again, it was the same 5 contractors that bid on contract 2, but there was a different low bidder. The alternate, which isn't written on yours, on the front page on yours, there was another section of road that James wanted to get to, and that's a bad section of Farmers Lane, right in the hollow there. They had done a patch before, and so he wanted to mill that out and repave it, so that was too much work than the public works could do themselves. So we added that as an alternate on here to see what kind of price we could get. And that alternate came in, it was the same low bidder, Bray Brothers, at $21,420. So again, the base bid at $30,090, and if you accepted the base plus alternate 1, it would be a total of $51,510. We've worked with all these contractors before. I have no issues with the contractors. Any award we recommend you make conditional upon us receiving. I have to review their documents. We need, bonded insurance, and the overlay paving bid has to be approved by PennDOT because we're using liquid fuels funding for that project. So any of these awards would be conditional on those items.
Quality of Bray Brothers. I'm not really familiar with
Very good.
it. Okay.
Yeah, they.
Okay, good.
Yes. We've used them several times.
What are they doing there?
Central funds. I'm not sure if they're in Solberry, but they're in the Solberry area.
Okay.
Warrington somewhere.
Help this fit well with the budget.
It is over our budget numbers by approximately what we could.
20 to 25,000.
25,000.
If you include the alternate.
we make the appropriate adjustments. You're recommending we go with
I
the
recommend that you go with it. We have some development in the pipeline to get these in the road for road work. Get it done.
I'd make a motion, we recommend we do it.
I'll second.
Okay, move in second, any more discussion?
None for me.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, let's have it. Thanks, guys, good job. Got new bid forms.
Well, that's printed off, we use Pennridge electronic bidding service.
It's a nice form of structure.
That's all I have, unless there's any other questions.
Anybody else have any questions?
I don't have anything.
No.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved, please report.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Move in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Solicitor report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last meeting, you reviewed the final subdivision plan for the Kratz development. We prepared an approval resolution for conditional final approval. The engineer has reviewed it, the manager has reviewed it, the applicant has reviewed it and sent us an email indicating that the conditions are satisfactory. So it is properly before you for consideration this evening. It would be resolution 2019-9.
Correct.
So if you're of a mind to adopt it, the motion would be to move for adoption of resolution 2019-9, granting final subdivision approval to the Kratz subdivision.
Okay, so moved.
I'm comfortable with it, I would make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
Thank you. Unless you have any questions for me, that's all I had on the solicitor's report.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to approve the solicitor's report?
Yes.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Township manager report, Mr. Lippincott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go over the treasurer's report. As of April 30th, 2019, the general fund has $628,603.58. Highway aid, $278,960.57. Open space, $930,161.74. The park fund, $9,363.41. The equipment fund, $14,076.33. Highway capital, $127.26. Street light, $30,899.65. The reserve fund, the general fund reserve, $344,179.32. Open space, Manderfield, $50,599. Sewage maintenance fund, $171,275.50. The stormwater fund, $6,197.72. And the escrow fund, $284,693.65.
Okay, anyone have any questions on the treasurer's report as presented?
I do not.
If not, I propose for approval, all subject to audit. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, ayes have it.
The next item I have is Adelphia. The township sent one letter to FERC, asking FERC to impose the conditions to Adelphia to comply with all our zoning ordinance, our saldo, and our stormwater ordinances. That letter is available on the website if anyone wants to take a look at it. Also, the board was presented a proposal from a Douglas Blasey to be an environmental attorney. He's from Elliott Greenleaf. The board all got a copy of that proposal. And if the board so wishes, they can appoint him as solicitor for special counsel for
Basically, it'd be for the initial response to the DEP request for comments.
Well, for the appeal, but you would probably want to appoint someone first and then
Right,
give
right.
authorization.
I just wanted to understand what we're going to do with this attorney. So,
You need me looking for a motion?
sure,
I'll make a motion that we appoint this Douglas Blasey.
And I'll second.
okay, moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And then I would be looking for an authorization from the Board of Supervisors to appeal the DEP air quality.
I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And the third thing I would look for is authorization for the township staff to hire a technical environmental consultant, if need be, prior to your next meeting, for any appeals that may need technical advice for these.
Special counsel will need the assistance of a technical consultant, in addition to counsel for air,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
clean
that.
air council.
We moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay, I have one more issue. The township received 2 zoning hearing boards. They're from Grandview Hospital. The first zoning hearing board is a dimensional variance of a non-conforming sign at the hospital. The other is for a dimensional non-conforming sign at the outpatient center, but that one includes a digital sign. So, making the board aware.
When was, next couple of weeks?
Well, it will be June 5th, and if the board so wishes, you guys can put forth a motion that the township staff puts their concerns to the zoning hearing board, and you reserve the right to appeal the decision of the zoning hearing board, if you so choose.
I would make the motion to allow you to put the appeal together.
Okay, I'll second that. Yeah, I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, adjourned.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is old business. You gentlemen have any old business?
I wanted to bring something up, old business regarding PennDOT roads. Greg, did we get any feedback from PennDOT on our roads that we have identified to them?
They went out and did some work on the roads, they did some ditch work.
On Ridge Valley?
Ridge Valley and County Line.
Okay.
They haven't been we haven't been out on Cat Hill.
They haven't been out, okay. Cat Hill's a road that we really want to try and get fixed.
They did paving on Cat
They did?
Yeah.
I just got a complaint.
Hill. Still on top of it.
Okay.
I
Well,
drove over
obvious,
the other
yeah.
day for a reason, what was it? I couldn't believe it.
We're still getting a lot of complaints on Cat Hill.
Well, at least they,
Sure.
at least they showed up.
Yeah, they filled up the big roads.
Okay. That's all I had for old business.
Okay.
I have an item for old business. Last week, Brian Fitzpatrick and Representative Dan Kildee from Flint, Michigan, held a congressional forum in the southern part of the county, and I attended along with Mrs. Jody Qatar, who's here tonight, and Gary Golobnik from East Rock Hill and the North Penn Water Authority, and there were a lot of water authorities there and a lot of other townships there. And it was to talk about the contamination that we have on Old Bethel Pike and in that city, and flows over into East Rock Hill also.
Excuse me, Jim, was it North Penn or Percy Region?
I guess it was Percy
They
Regional, I'm sorry.
both were there.
Oh, they
They were
both were there,
both there,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
So, they listened to our concerns. Jody was actually part of the forum. They had her sitting up at there and giving her story about what's been going on in her part of the township. So I asked Jody to come tonight and just give an overview of what was discussed, so you could hear what's been going on. So,
Good with you?
would you mind?
Sure. Thank you for inviting me or making me speak again for the 5th time. I am Jody Couture. My neighbors are right over there. We live on Old Bethlehem Pike. I know some of you. I know some of you know my story and our story. So I guess you all have read that we have contaminated water. We can't drink with it. We can't cook with it. We can't use it in your coffee maker. You can't rinse your food. You can't do anything besides, they say, to take a shower. We get bottled water to our house. That's in cases of 6 1 gallons in each box. It's about 51 pounds. It's about the size of my kid, basically. So at the meeting, we discussed that the DEP we've been fighting for public water for be a year in July, basically,
Just about 2 years.
after the DEP basically said that we have two options, actually three options. One option was to do nothing, which is unsuitable. The second option is to put public water in. Well, I'm not going in order, but just follow me. The third one is to put these carbon filters in our homes. The carbon filters would be linked to our homes, and we, after a year, would have to be in charge of our filters. Maintaining, if anything happens to anything to it, we would be suitable and liable for everything else. The carbon filters we are fighting to not have in our house is basically we would have to sign the documentation if these carbon filters are allowed in our home, that our houses would be it would be covenant to our home that we have contaminated water to our deeds to our homes. That to us is unsuitable. We wouldn't be able to have any fair market value to our homes nor sell them. The second part is that we would have to take care of them. It depends on your level of the PFAS. If you don't even know anything about PFAS, please, you can read about them. They're pretty harmful chemicals that are in the water. Depends on your level of your home, of what levels you are. Sometimes you have to change them every 3 years, sometimes it's every 6. That can run, like they were guesstimating on the slide board thing here, every 3 years it'd be about $1,000 between the PFAS test itself, which is not in a regular water test, it's an actual separate test, and then also the filter. And then at this discussion, Jim actually brought up the good idea, because I didn't even think about it, because I don't want them in my house at all, is what do you do with the filter after? What do you do with the filter after it's quote-unquote filled? However, there's no alarm to saying it's filled. Okay, keep that in mind. So the water authority people, which concluded that it just gets thrown into the municipal waste. It gets thrown into a landfill. So that chemicals, which more is being pulled out, just not the PFAS, it could be, anything in your water, is going back into the ground, so it can go to anyone's home or back into my home that's already getting pulled out for the PFAS, or into your homes or whoever's around the landfill.
I have a question. Am I allowed to ask a question?
No, I'm sorry, this is not public comment. This is just old business. Yeah.
So that was our meeting. The DEP basically sent us a packet. I'm not lying, it was 100 and some odd page packet in the mail the day after Easter. Basically with all our emails, I think I emailed the DEP every day this summer. I never learned so much about water, about a fire, about who did not do what, the military, about tires, about my kids were like, really have to do that again? Can we not go play outside? Can you not play with us? I submerged myself for about 2 months of my life learning what happened behind my house. Knowing what happened behind my house, I don't know if I would have owned the house I have now. So the packet basically said that we would getting these carbon filters in our house. That was their decision. So with West and East Rock Hill and the Water Authority wrote a note basically reconsidering their offer about not putting the carbon filters in our home. I know that you're on the other side basically than us, but to me it affects you guys. It affects my house value, which is going to affect our area, which is not good for me and for my neighbors. I have 2 kids. I have a 9 and 8-year-old, and it's really daunting that if someone has to come and watch my children if I'm out for a little bit, I gotta tell them, don't put water from the filter that we usually use. Don't put it in the coffee maker. Don't give it to my dog. Don't wash the kids' vegetables with it. Don't put that in the boiling pot of water, which actually raises the levels of PFAS in your water. Some of my neighbors have had cancer. It's not a cool thing to have. If anyone has anything contaminated in their house, who would want that? So anyway, we had the meeting with Brian Fitzpatrick. I'm hoping he's helping us. I would love for him to help us. I would love for responsible parties to act upon as well, but no word on that. But we're gonna plug away, and I know that Angela and I, we are not stopping until we get public water.
Thanks for coming out tonight, Jody.
Absolutely.
And if anyone wants to speak, they can do so in public comment. But we are going to follow up on this. Jody and I are already waiting to hear when the next meeting's going to be. We may end up in DC, so.
Actually, I'm throw this out there. WHYY is coming to my house on Friday. They're having a interview of what the water being, I'm hoping it works out this way, that the water will be delivering to our house. I don't know what they're gonna capture, but it will be on the news again.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Greg, I have a
Thank you.
question. What's the timing when you sent a letter selling to, we separately proposed?
Probably about 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, we sent a letter.
Is there a comment period that's allowed, or do you know?
I'm not sure, we sent an announcement for a meeting.
I've been in the news already.
Can all the individuals respond? Because this is not, it's not over what we're talking about now. This could spread, they know.
Oh, absolutely.
Go north, south, east, and west.
And I discussed that too. I mentioned that, they're draining East Rock Hills Quarry. That's going to be sucking water from all over the area, right? So it's going to spread. Anyway.
So let's find it out and put it on the website and really like everybody, if you put together, write up a form letter, everybody write complain to DEP about situation. This is, I can't believe they gave that answer.
They don't give any answers, Mr. Ball. No answers at all. You ask a question and
The answer is or nothing.
they don't ask you anything.
Okay, thank you.
I have no other old business.
Okay. Okay, new business.
I have none.
No, I don't know.
Public comment. Yes, sir.
I'm going to go back to with,
Yes, but you go first. You want to go first?
I'm Greg Goodwin, and I live on Tabor Road. We are right behind Bergie's. What's been neglected to be mentioned is the plume moves back and forth in the waterways. When the earth tilts, the water moves slower, our levels go down. Now we're tilting back where the water moves faster, our levels go up. We average between 400 to 600. We got neighbors that are in the thousands. But we got DEP, they're supposed to come out and start drilling, taking core samples of the property. They just asked us for permission to do that. And for 2 years doing bottled water, it sucks. It really, really sucks. We raised kids. We had a daughter that had a hard time getting pregnant. Don't know if it has anything to do with this. All the stuff that comes out of this leans towards medical issues that's been happening in our area.
Life issues, all kind of life issues.
Yep.
And the only answer in my view is that sewer and water that place, public water.
I think, and along with that line is, I think Brian Fitzpatrick was a little surprised that it was about $2 million to put in the water. He couldn't believe it. That's all it was going to take.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal.
To do the filters,
Yeah.
there's going to be a water thing before, between, and after each filter. Each candidate, like Jody says, depends what your count is, how many filters you're going to have.
Okay.
And I think they said the water, there's only 3 companies in the United States that does water testing for this kind of stuff. And it can go anywhere from what, $300 to $600 a test. So with us being in the 600s, they already said we're going to have about 3 to 4 canisters.
One of the questions or concerns I have that I think we've raised or shared is who's responsible for how often the filters are changed? What if somebody neglects or forgets?
It's an homeowner.
You know,
Well,
I realize that,
they
but
want to lay it on us. They were talking 6 months and we go. Now they're up to a year.
No, they originally said 3 years they were
3
going to
years.
do it. Now
We didn't create this problem, and like Jody said, if we would have known that this would have happened, I would have never bought where I did. I mean, you did it.
2 minutes is up. Appreciate your input.
All right. Thank you for your comments.
Name and address.
Hi, Cliff Cole, 2440 Shoecraft Road. I'm going to be very brief on this because I need to spend time on the compressor, but I would really like it if one of the neighbors would explain to us how the contamination got there, and who did it, and why. But I don't want to take my time to do that, I'm sorry. I'm very pleased to see that you've hired, or are looking into hiring, is that a
They hired.
they hired. One question I have is why him, and what was the process used? I mean, I just looked him up quick, it looks like he's a winner. But,
The supervisors and Greg asked if I could make recommendations on attorneys that were specialized in environmental law that could handle an appeal. And I had worked with Mr. Blasey before on some projects in other townships. He's a former DEP attorney for a very long time, and now he does environmental work, so he's familiar with DEP, with the appeal process, with the players in the game, but he's one of the few environmental attorneys who does most of their work on the municipal or consumer side as opposed to the industry side.
okay, great, thank you.
The board also asked me to solicit other proposals, which we did. The problem is that there are a lot of people who have conflicts because they do most of the work in the industry side.
Oh, I see, I got you, so this guy is really for the community. Okay, that's great. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that my letter that I sent to the supervisors last time was returned, you replied to it. One thing is that I did write the letter to all of the supervisors. I only received a reply from Greg. I don't know the propriety of that, but anyways, in my original letter, that's a normal process, okay. In my original letter, I asked for the township to look into asking the DEP for baseline numbers, and you replied that the township shares your concerns and has for the past year sent numerous letters to the FERC and DEP expressing concerns. If approvals are granted, we will certainly request the baseline studies, the testing to be done. But our posture now is to try to prevent the approvals. Well, apparently there's been an approval, and now you're looking into doing an appeal, or you're going to do it?
They authorized the appeal.
Okay. And what is the basis for the appeal? Can that be public knowledge?
I don't know at this point. That'll be within the scope of the authority of the attorney that's handling that case.
Right. Is there any way that the information that attorney develops, what is the date? That's the other question. There's a lot of concern.
30 days from the date that you actually receive notice, but no later than May 3rd, 2019.
But did West Rock Hill know about this before the May 3rd date, or May 4th? It was published, May 4th, it was published in the PA Journal. Can you please, I know you know the terminology, will you please speak it?
The township received the notice on May 3rd.
Okay, same day that I did.
That's the first time the
Okay.
township received notice.
Okay.
It was published May 4th.
It's really interesting because the letter that they sent says it was published May 4th, but then the letter's dated May 3rd. I received the same letter. So, okay. But
That's not unusual at all. You don't just snap your fingers.
All right, sorry. I'm an engineer, not a lawyer, so it doesn't make sense to me, sorry.
It's working. It's working.
How's that?
It's working.
Okay, the process is working. Okay, but is it possible that for residents that might want to file their own appeal, to be able to get help from Rockville Township on the basis for filing?
Then they get to depend on the discussion with the lawyer.
I had that discussion with the attorney, I didn't put it that way, but Greg's been forwarding him comments from residents and questions and concerns, And he said, it's really important to understand that he represents the township, which is the community as a whole. If individual residents have concerns and things that they think could form the basis of appeal, they need to hire their own attorney. There can't be commingling of that.
So if I hire an attorney, I need to do my own, our attorney needs to do his own research? There can't be any collaboration?
I'm not saying there can't be any collaboration, but he can only represent one party ethically. And so he can't be giving legal advice to people that he has not retained. If you get an attorney, would he talk to the attorney? I'm sure he probably would. But it has to be clear that he's representing the township and providing legal advice to the township.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. No other questions? Somebody?
Comment?
I still want to hear about,
Hi, I'm Rose Morgan, 2950 Rich Hill Road, West Rockville. And I want to thank you for, all the work you have done recently in regard to the compressor station, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. I feel your pain, Jody, because we are at ground zero next to this 3-story compressor station that the Adelphia Gateway is building. And we were at Richland's meeting, when was that, Judy?
Monday night.
Monday night. There's a lot going on. And we were just wondering, have they tried to reach out to you to, in conjunction with this? Because part of the, one of the major access driveways is right in the, on the other side of the facility. So it is a part of the facility, even though they keep saying, no, it's West Rock Hill. And so, you know what they say, there's strength in numbers and everything. So I just wondered if they had anyone is reaching out to anybody else in this.
No, I reached out to him about a year ago, and that was the last time.
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah. On that note, well, anyway, I personally don't think it's a bad idea for, to have like an intergovernmental meeting to, like I said, there are strengths in number. And one of the things that I did bring up at that meeting, because obviously they signed off on the approval of the DEP, which not sure if I like an attorney that was in the DEP, since they've been signing off, okay and everything, but if he's not in there anymore, I guess it's okay, but.
For years he hasn't been.
Yeah, but he might have friends or
And
something.
I think it's worth pointing out that.
Might also have some sites that,
It might be, I don't know, but whatever.
The Quakertown School District Attorney has contacted me several times in the last few months to find out if there is any assistance they can provide and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So the school district has
That's
expressed
helpful.
interest, yes.
Yeah, so I spoke at Richland's meeting briefly, and I brought up about the emergency management plan, which to this day, we've never gotten one blurb or sentence about that, which I don't know if you've read about these. You see them on TV from time to time where there's like big fires, 2.5. 2.5 for this thing. There are big fires that they have to let burn out, and for 2 weeks at a time. And it's like a couple hundred feet from people's properties, 10 feet from our property line. So has anybody, I know we spoke at a meeting a couple months ago about it here. And to this day, I haven't heard either township, and I did question Richland about it also, since they're involved. And we'd like to know about that. Like, what plan is in place to protect the surrounding community?
That's been a reoccurring comment of the township.
But I haven't heard any, no action, no action on that, or no answer.
We can't make them answer, we can only ask the
Make
question.
who answer. Well, I know they said in the plan approval plan, DEP's plan, they mentioned the county. So my suggestion is that somebody from our township get in touch with the Bucks County Emergency Management, who I have called twice to get information. And they were all gone for a whole week at a conference. And I said, well, what if this was an emergency, So, like, I have fears of that, and so do some of my neighbors that live nearby on top of this thing. So, and the other thing I have a fear about is what Jody was speaking about, which I'm wondering if a water study can be addressed for this thing, because This thing will have smokestacks, you know the whole thing about that compressor station. But that will definitely be seeping back into the ground, and we're gonna end up with the same problem those people have, you know, maybe in a year and a half, 2 years from now, because those are all wells around there. And so on top of like being in danger from air pollution, we're also gonna have that water problem too, because it's going to, these chemicals are going to be going into the ground over there. So is there anybody, has anybody addressed like the water? You know, I know they talk about the air and such, but what about the water?
Is there anything good?
I mean, I know Don has been investigating a lot of this. Do you know if anybody is examining any of these things?
But it's very reiterated earlier, it's difficult to impossible to get answers out of. And that's because they're going through this phase, and we're not involved in the phase of the FERC and so forth, so. And we try to insert ourselves with letters and read them.
Hopefully, Mr. Blasey will be able to give us answers to some of those questions.
He has that level and that type of activity, may have better or more access than we have.
And would he be involved in a water study, or, you know, like an estimated whatever study, you know, for water pollution?
That, I can't even begin to answer that.
Well, I was asking him.
No, we don't know yet. I mean, he's environmental, this is air
All
quality.
right, well, I'm just bringing these things up because I want to eventually hear some information about that. It's very important.
As soon as we hear
And thanks for giving me the explanation. Thank you.
Good job, Rose.
Thank you.
Judy Denninger, 1405 Massey Road. I have a little question that I saw that there was at, not yesterday's planning commission, but I think the month before, that I was reading that, what was this DCED grant for a baseline water quality impact study? Does anybody know what that was for? I read that on the website.
Would you like to answer that, Steve?
Alex is back.
You want me to take it?
Let Alex.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Alex Homer, I'm on the planning commission.
Good.
We were looking into the possibility of getting some DCED money to do a baseline water quality study throughout the entire township, so that things like the PFAS and the TCE and MTB and all of the different micro issues we found, we can identify what's going on in advance. When I looked into it a little further, what I found out is this has really only been given to communities where they're doing Marcellus shale drilling. It's not specifically, like, it doesn't say this is the only people who can apply. What I was told was no one who wasn't in one of those areas has ever been awarded the grant. And I asked, has anyone else even tried? And they said, oh yeah, lots of people, but it only goes to Marcellus shale areas.
So, are you going to try?
No,
Natural gas?
no.
One at a time, please.
So are you going to try to apply for it anyway? I mean, there was other things in there I read about paying 50% or half or whatever. I'm sorry.
You have the floor. There's no
Oh, that's
crosstalk.
okay, that's fine. So that's what I just really wanted to know, what was that for? I wasn't sure what area it was for. I thought, well, maybe it's for the gas compressor station.
It was for the whole,
Everything,
the idea
overall.
was for the whole township.
Yeah.
We're trying to find alternate funding sources, but
Yes,
it's
that's a
challenging.
good idea. That's a good idea, and I'm so sorry for you. I just hope that we're not in that situation a couple of years from now. And plus, the air from over there blows that direction. So that's another thing, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment? If you have a comment, please raise your hand so we can.
Oh, sorry.
Let her go first.
2 minutes.
Yes, Pam West, 2440 Shoecraft Road. I really just have two questions. This water study, how much does that cost?
We never really came up with a fully developed scope and cost for that. The
Any
grant
idea?
had a maximum cap of $250,000, I believe, and the township had to contribute
15%, or match 15%, I believe.
It's good to have that idea. And is the Greater Bucks County Planning Commission involved, or are we on our own
In an appeal.
in the appeal?
They were recently involved.
They are involved. I'm glad to hear that.
So is the commissioner, so Bucks County's involved.
And to make an appeal?
They made an appeal to.
No, they're not involved in the appeal.
No, they're involved, they made an appeal to FERC from the station.
They made a
Yeah,
appeal
like
to
we did.
FERC.
They commented to FERC, which is we did and other people did in their position. Prior to that, they were not involved, so they're now involved.
In
They're not
making an
involved in this air
appeal?
quality.
I'm sorry, I'm a
They're
little
not
confused.
involved in this air quality.
Why not?
Strictly our issue.
And could they be, or it doesn't work like that?
I don't know, see, we'll go to new council provides for us. Frank, alongside.
Frank Schimender, 1030 Allentown Road. I'd like to change the subject a little bit. I would like to know why we are allowing a political party to use one of our facilities for a meeting. Make your answers brief because I only got 2 minutes.
Here.
Why are we allowing a political party to have a meeting in one of our public facilities?
It's a public facility.
It's open to all Democrats, Republicans.
Anybody that wants to reserve this meeting room for a night that there is not a township function, it is open to anyone.
And does that include a tour of the facility?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Not that I know of.
Well, it says in here they're going to have a tour of the facility.
I don't know anyone else.
So there is no tour of the facility.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There was a letter sent out by Don DeVal. At the meeting, there will be
It's
a
a
tour of the
private-
facility.
It's a private meeting.
But why, if you're renting a room or leasing a room, if I lease it as a private citizen, am I going to be allowed to take 20, 30 people through the building? Who's paying for the security of that building?
It doesn't say they're going through the facility. Say if they haven't seen.
What does a tour mean?
Frank, the chief takes people through the facility at the police department all the time on tours. All the time. Anybody can go in there at any single time. You're welcome to go in there anytime you want. You could get 10 people together there, and as long as you coordinate it with the chief.
How many meetings have gone through there?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know, Craig?
Through the police building?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who keeps the
Rod's
record
the
of
only
that?
one that knows. Rod's the only one that knows.
The police officer, do you know?
How many groups go through the police station?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what the number is, the chief would know that. I mean, people do come through.
Have you been on duty when they've gone through?
I work during the day and people have gone through there.
What
I mean,
type
I
of-
haven't seen any large groups of people go through.
This isn't cross-examining the police
Yeah, this
department,
is
no.
public
It's their building.
Frank, this is public comment. This is how
And you're in the
questions are
wrong
answered.
entity to ask the police department questions.
If you call during the week to the police department and talk to the chief, I'm sure he'd be able to answer your question.
It's,
It just seems strange that 3 days before election, we're allowing a political party to go in there and have a meeting.
there is a police commission, and then there is the township board of supervisors. The reason I think you flummox Greg is, he has no idea what you're talking about, because we have absolutely no ability at the township level to control who uses their rooms and when and why and where. So you're asking the wrong entity the questions.
All right, I'm gonna ask Don DeVal, it's his letter.
What about we're having a meeting.
Who's invited to, it says West Rockville Republicans. I've talked to 10 Republicans, they don't know anything about this meeting. Is it a select group?
So it's a group, by invitation.
I rest my case.
You want to participate?
I'm not a Republican.
Okay. Then why is it a problem? Why is it a problem?
Then Frank, leave that outside the door, okay?
What?
You shouldn't be bringing that in the door then, if you're, what is the attack?
When I brought it up, I didn't name a party.
You just did.
I just did later on, but when I brought it out, nobody knows anything about it. When I mentioned a political party, I didn't mention Republican or Democrat. Why are we doing? I don't think we should do it, period. I don't care about other groups, high school groups, Rotaries, or whatever you want to call them. But I don't think political parties should be able to use that facilities and say in their letter, you're going to see a tour of the building. Thank you.
Maybe?
Ibby Shermer, 1805 Ridge Road, West Rock Hills delegate to the Pennridge Community Center Advisory Board. I'm here to ask the supervisors to consider their contribution to the Pennridge Community Center in a timely manner. As most of you know, we had a water pipe break and 2/3 of the building were affected, and the center had to be closed for 3 months. It will be opening on the 22nd, but they had a lot of loss of income being closed for 3 months, as well as a $5,000 deductible on the insurance. So I'm asking the supervisors to consider their contribution in a timely manner.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, he said go ahead.
Paul Reisner, 1402 Lawn Avenue. I just want to bring up this situation with the open space down here across my property. It's been a problem for years. We're trying to solve it, and the supervisors, I want to thank them, finally authorized a different crop, which helped. I had no mud with this heavy rain, but I had a ton of water yet. It's letting the water go through, but holding the mud. The roots are tight and holding the mud down. And our township has made a terrible mess of Lawn Avenue with digging these ditches out. So what happens now is the water hits the road and comes ripping down the road, and now I have full 2 sides of the road hitting my property and 3 tributaries from the open space, all hitting my property. And I just, I can't believe we can't find an engineer that can solve this problem. This is open space. I'm for open space, but if it's going to treat me like this, I don't want it. And I guess the ironic thing, my last statement is all these folks are sitting here, and you folks are giving them lawyers and this and that to help them out with an outside project. I'm a resident for 40-some years, and I have a problem, and it's like I'm a bug on somebody's shoulder. You know, we'll do this and that. So all I'm saying is, and I did do this formally, I did fill out the complaint, zoning complaint, that I'm saying the open space Simba across from me is violating our 209 ordinance. So I don't want to test that, but I'm telling you that's what's happening. All you got to do is read the ordinance and look at the property across the street and the pipes that are running. We are not following the township ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Brian Vogel, Rock Home and Storage. I had submitted for a confirmed appointment, and I was 2 days late. So I didn't know if you gentlemen had received my letter, had a chance to review it, if you had any questions. It was pertaining to the maintenance agreement for the development of our new facility. And basically, I was just looking for some feedback on this, if I could move into the maintenance agreement. So I just didn't know if you had any questions or concerns at this point, because like I said, I missed the confirmed appointment, but I just wanted to touch base with you guys.
I don't have any questions.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. So then it will be confirmed appointment for next meeting, basically. It will be then?
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chad Davis, 2315 Finland Road. I'd like the supervisors to consider doing 2 meetings a month. It seems we're trying to pack a lot into 1 meeting a month, and nothing gets done. I know most townships will do 2 meetings a month. We'll have one first or second week, and then one the last week of the month. Old business, new business, get stuff on the table, clear it out by the end of the month. I think we're really lax in where we're at on that, because we're growing, and there's just so many issues that, I mean, 12 meetings a year, you're really not covering a lot of ground. I appreciate what you do, but I just think we gotta step it up a little bit. We're just not there. And then we end up sitting here for 5 hours.
I don't think Karen remember the last time I was at a meeting here where it went past 9 o'clock.
I don't remember one either.
I think you can get a lot more.
I remember the days when we used to have a lot of development going on before 2008, and we'd be here till 11 o'clock at night, 11:30.
We had 2 meetings.
We used to have 2
And then we
meetings.
used to have 2 meetings.
Believe it or not, it will catch up to you again. It's gonna happen again. I mean, I think you should consider it.
Yeah, with the load that's there, I mean, right now, a lot of things we're dealing with, are things that don't happen, talked about here, it happens in the next meeting, so longer term thing. Everything you heard here tonight, compressor station, clean air and so forth, I mean, they don't happen overnight.
Oh, I know that.
So,
I know that.
and when we have the load, we'll consider that, go back to the meeting.
I think things will be fresher for a lot of people. Once a month, it just seems like
Okay.
things get stale.
Yeah, I understand.
Just making a recommendation.
Okay, good, thanks for the input.
I get a turn.
I like this, this is nice. Robert Linden, Reagan Drive. At the last meeting, there was a request by 2 gentlemen, Mr. Hollingswood and Mr. Bogner, is that correct? I don't know. To join the gas compressor committee. And the committee met and voted 6-0 to not have them join the committee, and we decided that we would do members by invitation if we required additional members. So I just wanted to fill everyone in on that answer. Thank you.
Was easy. It was easy.
Is somebody behind me?
No.
Make sure it's me. She wants to join. Can Shirley join the group? Join the group. Won't take me long.
Goodness gracious.
Just want to say thank you to the supervisors for hiring a lawyer. Thank you, I bow to you, thank you.
Name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Shirley Mann, 2945 Rich Hill Road. And the only thing I want to say is to mention that on Monday, May the 20th, that's this coming Monday, there will be a meeting at the Quakertown Library at 7 p.m. Her name is Ariane, I think she pronounces it Elenich. She is the organizer of Bucks County concerned citizens against the pipeline. And the meeting will be on the compressor station. So anybody that can, please come out to we voice our concerns. That's this coming Monday, May 20th at 7 o'clock at the Quakertown Library. Thank you. This is nervous time up here.
You did very well.
It's, yeah, they're gonna have to have a clean air council speak like on a conference.
Oops, excuse me.
Yeah, Fred Dice Road, 201 Lonely Road. I'd like to make a suggestion relative to a follow-up of Frank's question. Work with a lot of townships, and most townships have policies on how to use their facilities. I know when I was on the board, we were reluctant to let people use the facilities, only because there was a problem then. Who do you allow to use the facilities, and who is not allowed to use facilities? I don't have any problem to use our facilities, but I think when you use it for one group, then if another group applies and you don't agree with their approach or their principles, then I'm not sure who makes that decision, because it could result in legal problems, because it's hard to include and exclude. And I think right now, I heard the officers say that they welcome tours or have tours. Most police departments we work with are reluctant to have anybody behind the first barrier of defense in a police department. So I think you've got to be very careful of how you use your facilities. And if you're going to allow certain groups to use them, you've got to put a process together as to who is included or who is excluded. And I know, again, when I was on the board, we were very reluctant to let anybody use it because of some of the problems that could evolve. So that's just a suggestion that maybe something you should think about. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Fred. Anybody else? Entertained motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. I'll second it.
Move to second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you for coming, appreciate your input.
That was public comment.
Someone asked me a question about the fire, and I wanted to talk about it. Okay.